What are the traditions of magic? Can they be identified and categorized? What are the threads that go into the tapestry that makes the Western Esoteric Tradition? Hey, I'm James, aka Threskiornis. Last time on the Scroll of Thoth, we talked about the models of magic, and I still think that those are a valuable tool to give you different viewpoints on your own practice. But, I never wanted this channel to exclusively be just rehash of other magical philosophies and principles. Yeah, there's going to be more, because I don't know if, that information is really out there in an easily digestible form. But I also wanted to add some of my own viewpoints and some of my own perspective. And in the course of that, you're going to learn a little bit more about me and where I'm coming from. I have a theory that I call the threads of the Western Esoteric Tradition. Now, you're going to hear me use that word a lot, tradition. And the reason for that is because my background is in comparative religion. That's what I've got my degree in. And comparative religion, kind of a weird thing. They don't have a definition for what a religion is, because they recognize that there's really not that many core commonalities amongst religions. I mean, not all religions have gods. Not all religions have churches. So you can't form a real list of commonalities, and at the same time, there's other things out there that look very much like a religion, but are never considered a religion, like a nationalism. So comparative religion breaks things down to traditions, and that's how I learned. The Christian tradition, the Muslim tradition, the Buddhist tradition. And, it's just taking them at their face value, examining them as they are seen from the inside and the out. So to go with that, and what I consider my tradition to be is the Western Esoteric Tradition. And that's just a precise, fancy way of saying all the different stuff that went into magic, esoterica, that which is a hidden tradition, though obviously not hidden all that well. But I think it speaks more to a tradition that is always under the mainstream, always a little bit persecuted, always a little bit on the fringe. So that's what we're talking about today, the Western Esoteric Tradition, and what goes into that. So when we made the video on the models of magic, I was pretty clear that you shouldn't be looking at these things like these are separate and I operate within one part and not the others. There's a reason why I call this threads, because that metaphor, it's saying that these are things that all go in together to weave the tapestry of the Western Esoteric Tradition. And how you should be looking at this is, how do I weave this together to make my own tradition? What parts are necessary and what combinations? So we're going to go and start with three elements, three threads that I've come up with so far. There may be more. And those are the Animus Thread, the Mystery Thread, and the Correspondence Thread. So we talked a little bit about animism when we talked about the spirit model. And I really like scholar Graham Harvey's definition of animism that he gives in his book, Animism, Respecting the Living World. Animists are people who recognize that the world is full of persons, only some of whom are human, and that life is always lived in relationship with others. And like we said, this is probably the oldest part of the Western Esoteric Tradition. There's evidence found for it in pre-Homo sapiens. And it's all about interacting with spirits, interacting with these other persons who are not human. Now, Shinto is probably considered the largest continuing animist religion in the world. There's some argument about that, but as we said, these things intertwine. So sure, animism is not all that there is to Shintoism, but it is a part of it. At least I believe there is. It's also seen in indigenous religions, in their respect and relationships with spirits of the land and spirits of places. You can see it in Goetia, with its interaction with spirits of the chthonic and the underworld, and even in necromancy. And the characteristics of animism are communication and agency. Human beings, one of our greatest gifts is communication. We tend to communicate better with each other than a lot of other animals. And it's, of course, natural to us to try to communicate with something other to understand our place in the universe. And speaking of our place in the universe, it's also about agency. It's recognizing that maybe human beings aren't the pinnacle of creation, and that there are other things out there that we can communicate with to our benefit and to their benefit. Now you can see where this interweaves with the other threads in the mystery tradition, where sometimes it's the spirits that are giving the revelation, and in the correspondence thread, where learning the correspondences is necessary to understanding the spirits. That brings us to the mystery thread. And of course, the first thing that comes to mind are the mystery religions of antiquity, the Dionysian mysteries, the Eleusinian mysteries, the Orphic mysteries. And mystery is all about revealed knowledge. And sometimes that knowledge can be taught, but for the most part, the knowledge is gained through experience. It is revealed by something that happens to the practitioner. Now, the characteristics of the mystery thread are initiation and self-improvement. It's these forced sequences of experience that reveal the mystery to the practitioner. And they use that knowledge to improve themselves, to make themselves into a higher being, something closer to perfection. And once again, this interweaves with the other threads, and the spirit Animus thread, where sometimes it's the spirits that are revealing these mysteries, it's touching these spirits that creates the experience. And in the correspondence thread, that's the learning part of it, seeing the different connections in the universe and having a experience through that. That brings us to the correspondence thread, discovering the nature of the universe through learning universal concepts and how they relate. And of course, you see this in somewhat more modern practices such as alchemy and Kabbalah, but you can also see it in things like witchcraft, where different plants have different meanings and are combined because the plants have a certain symbolism to them. Now, the tools of the correspondence thread are developing meaning, which, like I said, certain things take on deeper meanings, have symbolic resonance, and gaining knowledge, simply learning about things and how they relate, gives the magus the ability to change the universe. And once again, you see how this interrelates to the other threads, where gaining this knowledge is an experience into itself that can reveal the mystery. You can also see how this is used to develop a language with the spirits. And a good example of that is John Dee's development of the Enochian language. One of the benefits of looking at magic from the perspective of these threads is that it helps you work better with others. helps you gain a better understanding of what people in different traditions might be trying to accomplish and how that might be useful in your own magic. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of magic philosophy. Best way to support the show, of course, subscribe, like, tell your friends about us. Also, go to our website, scarletibisapothecary.com, where we have candles, incense, and sacred oils. All of that's handmade. All of the items and tools that we use are blessed and consecrated. It's really a true magical act, the creation of these products. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.